Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hey everybody, Q&A Kevin Laird here, and I've got another book review for you today, and this is one that a lot of people have been anticipating, and one that I'm really happy to see as well because I contributed to it. So without further ado, we have the story of the Commodore Amiga in Pixels by Chris Wilkins and Roger M. Keane, and this is obviously the latest in Chris's series. He's done ones like this for the Spectrum and the Commodore 64 already. Several volumes, in fact, with the Spectrum one. And this is a little bit different to those because whereas he kind of did, say, the Spectrum one in 3 volumes, he's got the one here. But what he's gone for is a really big old book, as you can probably see. This thing is massive. This is the hardback version, as you can see. And this is a really big old heavy book. And it's got everything in it. It's really comprehensive. And you've got not just the history of the computer in it, but all about games, demo scene. So really, although it's called the story of the Amiga and Pixels, which would make you think it's going to be more a visual book, there's actually a lot of other stuff in there as well, as we will find out. I'm not going to go through the entire book in its entirety, as always with these things, because it would just take forever, and I don't want to give loads of stuff away. So we're just going to have a little look through it and touch on some of the key points so you can see what it's all about. So it starts off with plenty of iconic images like the bouncing ball and the workbench disc. I should mention as I'm going through this actually, as my name mentioned there, is that I was an ST guy. I never owned an Amiga. The Amiga is more a thing of recent years for me, since I got into the wider retro scene in general. But obviously the ST and the Amiga had a lot of crossover. They had a lot of the same games. And when you're talking about the classics, there are actually a lot of games that appeared on both. So there was a lot of stuff in the Amiga that I was already aware of, but being the retro fan that I am, there's also lots of other stuff that I've discovered in recent years which didn't come to the ST, like, for example, Team 17 stuff and some of the latest Psygnosis titles. So I mentioned again in the index there saying that I'll be looking at the games. And there's a list here of some of the people who have been interviewed in the book. So you've got names there like Archer McLean, Stu Cambridge from Sensible Software, and his stablemate John Hare. Glenn Corpse is in there from Bullfrog. Musicians like Barry Leach, Mark Knight, and Gary Biasillo. Who else is in there? Peter Johnson from Ocean, Melvert Dinks. There's lots of really good people in there to have a look at, and also say not just games coders, also demo scene guys as well. So forward by David Pleasance, which is quite cool. For those who don't know, he was the boss of Commodore in the UK, which is where they probably had their most success, to be honest. The history was written by Andrew Fisher, fellow retro gamer writer. So it starts off obviously with the stuff at Atari, because those guys who designed the Amiga, most of them came from Atari and were responsible for designing the Atari 2600. So it goes through a lot of the history there. A little flick through. So it's got some lovely images like this one here of an Amiga 2000, which is one of the first ones, 1987. That was aimed at business users, but it never really took off. $3,000. Let's skip ahead a little bit. So obviously you can see the comprehensive is really the history is really comprehensive and in depth. It goes right into the later years with the SCOM machines and the Amiga 1 and stuff like that, when they started to sort of do the sort of more PC style Amigas. So Amiga creatives and graphics. This is PD, shareware, the demo scene, all of that stuff has got its own section. So all the big demos and demo groups are featured in this part. And so you'll also see adverts that intersperse the book as well, and obviously that is actually, I think, the cover from the box rather than an advert. But there are adverts in here as well, which is quite nice. I always like to see that. So ScoopX, a lot about ScoopX there, one of the big Amiga demo teams. Jurassic Park. So then we go into the games. So there we go. We can see my own logo there that you can see on my YouTube channel has actually been used in the book as well. And this was a difficult thing to do because obviously there's so many classic games on the Amiga. It was very, very hard to pick out which ones to do. So you will see that I did try to concentrate more on the original games rather than arcade conversions, because in many cases the arcade conversions actually in the Amiga weren't as great as they could have been. In my Amiga versus arcade series that I've been doing, this is quite evident, and actually you see a lot of the Amiga fans commenting saying that they were quite often disappointed in what the Amiga got arcade conversion wise, when it could have been a lot better. I do stick a few of the more notable ones in there, but you will see I mostly stick to original games. So, and I've tried to give quite a broad selection across different genres as well. I mean, like Airball, which is a more obscure one, and it's an isometric adventure, which was something that was more popular on the 8-bit computers. There weren't many of them on the 16-bits. So there's plenty of stuff by Psygnosis in their Agony, Barbarian, etc. I'll skip ahead a few here. So Lemmings DMA Design obviously is kind of a given that stuff like that would be in there. Archer McLean's IK Plus, still probably the best fighting game on the Amiga. Stunt Car Racer, Microprose obviously did some great things on the Amiga. Cinemaware stuff, obviously like Defender of the Crown. You can expect to see that in there. Your Gremlins games, Lotus Turbo Challenge 2. There's more of simulation stuff there. Valken. Shadow the Beast, of course. You cannot write about the Amiga with not putting Shadow the Beast in there, because it was the game that finally showed the Amiga's superiority to the Atari ST. Cannot Follow, Civilization, Other Worlds. So obviously you can see a really broad spectrum of stuff in here. Team 17 stuff like Body Blows, the iconic Star Glider, one of the Amiga's early efforts at doing 3D polygon graphics. Some of Thalion's great stuff like Lionheart. I think the Thalion stuff gets really underrated. I mean, just look how gorgeous those graphics are there. Super Frog, which is kind of the Amiga's answer to Sonic in many ways. So the Memoirs comes after that. So obviously I've mentioned a few of these already, like Glenn Corpse at Bullfrog, who did Populous and Syndicate, etc. Who else have we got in here? Simon Butler from Ocean. James Sachs worked on Defender of the Crown at Cinemaware. Alex Trowers, another one of the Bullfrog guys. Anthony Ball and Tiertex. Barry Leach, of course, good friend of mine there. Ash Hogg. The Oliver Twins. Peter Johnson from Ocean. Nice adverts as well there. Demo scene guys. A modern guy, I mean that guy there, mentioned actually. Philip Berg Butcher has been the one doing the conversions in recent years where they've got games that didn't come out on the Amiga but did come out on the ST. He's been converting them over to run on the Amiga, which is quite cool. So he's in there as well. Raphael Keko. Archer McLean, of course. Great photo there of Archer and Nolan Bushnell. I absolutely love that down there in the corner there. And there we go. And obviously, if you back to the book on Kickstarter, you're mentioned in this back part as well. So everyone gets their name in there. So that's it. That's a little overview of the book. So it's got a cover on as well. It's no different underneath, in case you're wondering. exactly the same. But it's a lovely book. I think it's turned out beautifully. I would love to see Chris do something similar for the ST. I know there was at one point a plan to do so, but other projects ended up taking over, and this book I know took a bit longer than was expected, and he's got the Thalamus one in the works and stuff like that as well. So I believe Chris is trying to get all his projects finished before he looks at doing any more new ones. But obviously, if you want to see an ST book, then let him know, because I'm sure I'd love to hear from you. He's always liking to listen to customers and what they want to see him doing books. He's obviously doing the Crash Annual as well as the other one that a lot of people are looking forward to. But yeah, I mean, it's a big old book, loads in there for the Amiga fan. I mean, I'm more of an ST guy, but even I loved this book. You know, there's so much nice stuff in there, and it's so wonderfully presented. Everything about this book has been done, you know, really well, really top notch. And I'm not just saying that because I was involved in it, because obviously I actually hadn't seen it before it arrived today, so I didn't even know what my stuff looked like in the book. So I was really pleased with how, you know, my reviews and stuff turned out as well. So it's really good to see. So if you haven't already bought this book or backed it via the Kickstarter, it's certainly something well worth having a look. Even if you're not the hugest Amiga fan, I think there's loads in here just for the classic games alone. For anyone who's a fan of retro gaming in general, really. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed my look at the story of the Commodore Amiga in pixels. I will link Chris's website, Fusion Retro Books, below, so you can click the link, have a look at this book and all the others he's produced. There's lots of great ones there. Particularly recommend the Dizzy book, which was fantastic, and the Spectrum books as well. I've got reviews of those on my channel. And I thank you for watching. Give us a like if you haven't already, and I will see you all again with another video very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.